Support for this program is provided in part by Guido's Fresh Marketplace.
Welcome to my cooking show, The Natural Cook. I'm Anna Gershenson. We are cooking today something very yummy, very healthy, and fast. So the menu today is Burmese chicken with basmati rice that is cooked in a very flavorful paste, with a very flavorful paste that we are going to put together today, and all the ingredients in this paste are just bursting with healing properties. And this is why this recipe caught my attention, because as soon as I saw this, I thought, oh my God, I have to make it on my show. So let's start cooking. You see there is a lot of mise en place here, which takes time, of course, that you have to remember to have ready when you start cooking in your kitchen. And what we are going to do first, we are going to start with basmati rice because it takes time to cook. So we are going to let it cook while we're doing other things. So basmati rice has been pre-washed. It has some starch on it, and in order for it not to stick, you have to wash it in a few changes of water so that the starch gets dislodged, and you clean it off, and then you put it into a pan. As you see, I have preheated my pan because I want to get things going right away, but you don't have to do it at home. Then to 1 cup of rice, I'm adding about 1 3/4 cups of water, and then I'm going to season it right away. I actually recommend to you to soak your rice in advance because it is very helpful for cooking it better. It's not necessary, but you can do it for at least 30 minutes, or you can actually even leave it overnight, but drain that water. Don't use that water for cooking. And as soon as the water comes to boil, so let's increase this heat and get the water boiling. I add salt. You always want to make sure that the water is seasoned well, because your rice is going to absorb that salt, and unless it's present in the water that you are cooking it in, the rice is just not going to have the same flavor. So while the water is coming to boil, and of course we always taste. That's like a big thing. So I'll prepare another spoon here. The second thing we have to do is make our chicken. So before I put the paste together, I'm going to throw the chicken on to the skillet. So we take like this kind of like a casserole pan, a little bit wide and flat, and we add 3 tablespoons of grapeseed oil or any other flavorless oil. I prefer grapeseed. I don't like using canola because it's GMO. And now we're going to put our chicken. This is boneless, skinless chicken thighs that I already pre-cut into 1.5-inch pieces. And the longest time is to actually, it takes to clean it off a little bit, because you know that it comes with some, some sinew and some fat, so you don't want that. So you want to clean it. And what I also did, in advance, I actually salted the chicken like the night before. And this is a very good thing to do with your meat, because salt has this magic power of tenderizing and moistening the meat. And you don't have to keep it for a long time with smaller cuts of meat or chicken. like for example, you can do it like the night before or just for a couple of hours. But if you are cooking with a big piece of meat or whole chicken or turkey, you can do it like with turkey like 2-3 days in advance, and with chicken 24 hours in advance. Okay, so I salted my chicken in advance, but if you haven't done it, then you would want to sprinkle it with a couple of teaspoons of salt and toss it, and of course we are going to taste it as we go. We might need a little more salt. I'll just add a little more right here, and I see that my rice is cooking. So since my rice is cooking, I'm going to add salt there as well, and I just take like a big pinch of salt, and then I swirl it. You don't want rice to be sticking to your pan. Mine does a little bit just because the pan is hot, but it shouldn't be happening to you. And I'm tasting it. And it's plenty salty, so I know that it will be seasoned well. And then right away, I reduce the heat and put it on the lowest heat, so that my rice will be cooking. Okay. On, add. All right. Over very low heat, and only for about 15 minutes. So you can even take a towel and put it around, to cover for the steam to be trapped, because it helps with it. We're not going to do it here now, but this is something that Persian cooks do when they cook big quantity of rice. So you want to make sure that the rice is cooking slowly for 15 minutes. Once it's done, and you put it on the lowest heat. And after 15 minutes, you just turn it off, and then you let it sit without heat for another 10 minutes. And then you just take off the lid and fluff it up. So our chicken is cooking nicely. What we want to do is just cook it until it's no longer pink. And in the meantime, while it is cooking, we are going to make the paste that goes into the chicken. And this is like the most amazing paste. You know how Mary Poppins was singing, just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down? Well, food is your medicine. And this medicine doesn't need a spoonful of sugar, because it's going to be so delicious. And all the nutrients that go into this paste are just incredibly healthy. Okay, so what we are going to do, I'm going to introduce you to the ingredients that go into this paste, and there are a lot of them. So number one, we have tomatoes. They are plum tomatoes that we are going to just quarter, and we are going to throw them in. Then we are going to do it in the blender. I understand that the recipe came from a cookbook from Burma, Burmese cooking, where you really they grind it in mortar and pestle. But the Milk Street has come up with this ingenious idea. So then we are going to take ginger. It's like 2 teaspoons of ginger, and we're going to slice it thinly to get about 1/4 cup of ginger, and we are going to add it to this mix. Then the next ingredient will be garlic. There will be a lot of garlic, like 8 cloves of garlic, and you don't have to cut it or anything. You can just smash it and throw it in. If you want to, you can take out that little sprout that sometimes is bitter. I usually recommend that. Okay, so let's add our ginger. And if your ginger is not organic, it's really very easy to peel it with a spoon, just like that. That's the best tool for peeling ginger. Okay, then the next ingredient that we are going to use is shallots. And shallots are like it's a mild form of onion that is a little bit garlicky. So it's a very special ingredient that usually is used in French cooking, and they make these very special sauces with this because it's mild and very flavorful and really revered, but also has very, very good healthy properties, just like the onion family that it belongs to. Okay, so smashing the garlic, okay, and putting it in, all right. And then another ingredient that goes into it is turmeric, which of course is a very, very potent health-building ingredient that is used for treating cancer, for all kinds of. I'll remove this for now because it's already done, and I don't want it to overcook while we're making our paste. So we're adding our garlic. All right. 1 teaspoon of turmeric. We are going to also add a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of grapeseed oil or any other neutral oil, 1/4 teaspoon of hot pepper, and then a very special ingredient that you usually do not really hear much about, or probably don't cook much with, but it has so many healthful properties that you definitely should include it in your diet. And this is lemongrass. And it's very, very flavorful. It comes from Asian, African, and Australian tropical places where it's revered not only as a culinary ingredient, but also is grown for medicinal purposes. So what you have to do is, when you buy it, look for these like pale green stalks. Don't take the ones that are already kind of yellowed or not looking fresh. And you want to peel the outer layers because they are tough. And then after you've peeled them, you reach a softer part. And that's what you want to use. And you only use about 4 to 5 inches are actually edible. But you don't throw out those fibrous stalks because they are really, they have all kinds of polyphenols and wonderful ingredients that you can make a healing tea for yourself. And it helps with digestion and headaches and building immunity and a lot of different things. So once we peeled this, now the fibers go along this way. So we want to cut off close to the bulb and get to the soft part. And then about 4 inches. And then we are going to cut it thinly across the fiber so that it would break down more easily. And by the way, you can even put it like into water for about 10 minutes. If it's tough, you can put it into water for 10 minutes to soften it. And to store it, you just cover it with plastic and put it into refrigerator for 2-3 weeks, so you can even freeze it for up to half a year. Okay, so what you can do also, you can just kind of like tap on it. If you want to mince it, then it breaks it down and makes it easier to cut. And you can use the thicker parts for the paste and the thinner parts. If you are making a stir fry with it, you can do that. So once you have sliced it, you throw it together with all our other ingredients, and we are ready to mix it. So shallots, we'll just quarter our shallots. You will use about ½ pound of shallots, and you see they are very, very pretty, and they are nice. They are nicely. They are usually served actually in salads. It's very delicious when you're making a dressing, just to put your acid like lemon or vinegar, and then to put your salt and some sliced or chopped shallots, and to have them sitting there, and they are going to flavor, they are going to soften and flavor your dressing. All right, so our lid is here. Okay, and let's process it. Okay, so we have this beautiful paste. Now we are going to put the chicken back onto our burner. Okay, and add the paste. And then we are going to coat the chicken with this paste and continue cooking to make sure that it's all coated nicely. And after it's been coated, we are going to cover it and cook it for probably a good 10 minutes, just to make sure that the chicken has softened and absorbed these wonderful flavors. And then we are going to uncover it and bring it to higher temperature. We are going to cook it covered on a lower temperature, and then uncover and put it on higher temperature and cook it until the juices have reduced, the sauce has thickened, and at that point, of course, you want to taste it. So as you can see, it's a very beautiful paste. It has very beautiful color. I'll taste it. It's extremely potent, so all these flavors will get absorbed. There is a lot of garlic and shallots, and of course they will soften as they are cooking, but I'm tearing just tasting this. So this says to you what wonderful, flavorful, and potent ingredients we have here. All right, so let's reduce the heat. Okay, and cook it for a little bit. All right. Okay. All right, so while this is cooking, I'm going to share with you what else goes into this recipe, and also some of the properties, wonderful properties that we actually have in this food that we are cooking. So now 15 minutes has passed, and at this point I see that all the water has been absorbed, and we are turning off the heat and letting our rice sit for another 10 minutes or so off the heat. So I'm moving it off this burner because this burner is hot and we don't really want the rice to continue cooking anymore. Okay, so let me check. Yes, the chicken is cooking nicely. Let's reduce the heat a little bit. Okay, so after the chicken is done cooking, we are going to add, when it's soft already, we are going to add some chopped cilantro and lime juice. So cilantro, as you know, is also one of these very powerful ingredients that takes heavy metals out of your body. So whenever you can use it, either in your smoothie or in your salad, or sprinkling on whatever you prepare, some kind of meat dish or chicken dish or fish dish. It's extremely flavorful and good for you. So speaking about herbs, when I buy cilantro, I always pay attention, like with any herb, but cilantro has extremely like fragile and thin leaves. And with our supermarkets sprinkling fresh herbs and vegetables all the time, spraying with liquid, so it's constantly sitting in water and it starts rotting. So first of all, when you are buying it, make sure that the leaves are fresh, that there is no rot there. You can even like look inside. And also, when I bring it home, I always, with all herbs, I always take off that little piece of elastic that sits around that holds them together, because that's something that is going to prevent it from staying fresh and will contribute to rot. So what I do is I would take a bowl of water and I will plunge cold water, and I plunge my herbs into that water and swish them around. And then if it's very dirty, I would do it again until the water is nice and clean. And then I would put it into a salad spinner, and then I will take a plastic bag, put paper towels, you know, or a cloth towel if you have extra. They're great, you know, for keeping your herbs. And then I would take my cilantro, spread it out, and then I will wrap it like this so that the extra moisture is absorbed, and place it into the plastic bag and into the refrigerator. So this is how I keep most of my herbs, except I don't do it to basil. Basil is best preserved when it's sitting in just take it out of whatever container you got it in and put it into a glass with water, and then just cover it with a plastic bag to kind of preserve it and keep it outside of the refrigerator, because it really turns very, very dark in the refrigerator. Okay, so the chicken is cooking. Let's check on it, because we want to stir it as it's cooking. It's really cooking at a nice pace, and we want to make sure that all the flavors get absorbed here. So chicken is pretty bland by itself. So why we're using dark meat here in this recipe? Because even though white meat has less fat, but it's really it cooks faster, and for this to braise, it's better to use dark meat, which takes more time to cook and also is much more flavorful. So now, speaking about this wonderful, wonderful ingredient, lemongrass, that I introduced you to today. Lemongrass is actually it acts as a healing ingredient in so many different instances, where it would reduce fever, it would boost your energy, it will kill germs. It's really antimicrobial, antiviral, antibacterial, and it prevents cancer, it treats coughs and colds, it lowers your fever. This is just something that amazing, that one simple grass can have so many wonderful properties. So at this point, we are going to open the lid and increase the heat and make this chicken cook for another like 5 to 7 minutes. So we are going to take the break, because we're running out of time, and we want to show you what it looks like cooked and taste, and let you know how good tasting it is, in addition to being so wonderful and healing for you. So we are taking a break, and we'll see you on the other end. So our rice has cooked, and what I do, I would put like a cloth towel over the pot so that it would absorb extra moisture and keep it there while I'm working on some other things. And then that helps to fluff up the grains better. And then when I remove it, I would just take a good sized fork, and I would toss it around to fluff up these grains, to make them more separate. And then we can put it on our serving dish. And as you can see, that these grains are really have separated. They are not stuck together. Also, Basmati rice has this wonderful capacity of increasing the size of the grain. So in some rices, it can only even grow like 3 or 4 times its size. But also, what is good about Basmati rice is that it really doesn't have the same kind of effect on your pancreas and insulin production the way that other rices do. And so it is like a safer rice to eat for people who might have diabetes. Now our chicken also has cooked. As you can see, it is coated nicely with this paste. It has reduced. We can go quickly over that. First I browned it, cooked it a little bit for a couple of minutes just to let the pink disappear. Then I added the paste, and you coat it with the paste and cook it for another few minutes to make sure that all the chicken is coated. Then you would reduce the heat and cook it over low heat for about 10 minutes because the chicken has to cook through, but also it's very important that this paste has to get absorbed, and then all the flavors, otherwise the chicken will be bland because it wasn't marinated in advance. Then also when you remove the lid, you increase the heat and let the sauce get reduced and concentrated, and then you would cook it for another probably 5 to 7 minutes. You taste to make sure that the flavors are good, that the chicken is soft, and you can actually, before the last step, which you do off the heat, you would add lime juice and cilantro. But if you want to make it in advance, and it probably will taste even better the next day because all the flavors will get absorbed, you can do it up to this step. And then when you warm up the chicken, when you want to serve it, then you add 2 tablespoons of lime juice and half a cup of chopped cilantro, and you toss it together, and then your chicken is ready. So you can serve it to the delight of your family or guests or your own, and enjoy all the wonderful healing properties that it has to offer to you. So let's taste it to see if it needs anything else. It's really wonderful. Make sure that you have enough salt because that's what brings all the flavors together, and we can put it on top of our rice, and then we can decorate it with lime wedges, and you are going to have a nutritious, delicious meal. And I'm sure that the staff that's helping me shoot this show cannot wait to taste it. They are smelling all these wonderful aromas, and they just cannot wait to dig into this. Okay, so let's put the lime wedges around. It will look pretty and inviting. You want to feast your eyes before you feast your tummy. So let's see. Really wonderful. You'll be very pleased. Thank you for joining my show. Please come back for another delightful episode for cooking healthy meals.
Support for this program is provided in part by Guido's Fresh Marketplace.